What's up, folks? This is Pierre-André Mathieu, and I'm here today with a tutorial on how to set up a true, proper IK footing advanced locomotion system style. This tutorial is inspired by a YouTuber named UnrealDevOP. He is the one who actually helped me in creating this sort of thing, and I am very grateful to that person because now I know that it is possible to integrate this system in Unreal Engine 5. And believe me, I've done it with experience, as I've learned a lot from him. So, credit's worth when it is due. And I'm going to show you that you can do that sort of thing too. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Now, the first thing that I want to do is I'm gonna remove what I originally have for the IK footing, like this one. And I know it's gonna have some errors, but personally, I think it's for the best. Oh, stone animation graph. Yeah, I kind of realized that. I'm gonna do the same thing with the player character. Yeah, I'm removing these things to make way for new ones. So, this one goes bye-bye. Now we're going to move on in creating a true, proper IK footing step by step. So, this is what we're going to do. While I still have the player animation blueprint, I'm gonna go to the skeleton. And from this very skeleton, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the root here, and I'm going to add a virtual bone for it. And I'll rename this virtual bone to IK. Foot. Root. There. Now, what the IK footing does, it basically controls the root from there. If you click at it, you'll see that green sphere right here. Now, before we're going to do anything else, it's crucial that we add 2 new curves. So, let's click on Add Curve. And this new curve will be named Enable Foot IKL. To save time, I'm gonna copy this, click it again, add a new curve, only this time we'll rename it to Enable Foot IKR. Yeah. These curves will prove to be of great use once we make changes within the animation blueprint. You will understand as we go along. While we're still in the skeleton, well, you already know what I said there, so we've added a virtual root bone that controls the IK footing, because, well, you don't have to if you don't want to, because this is optional, especially when you're using the Unreal Mannequin. However, the reason why we're going to create a virtual bone version of the IK foot root is to set these bones properly. Without that, the line traces running from the roots won't be lined up properly with the feet. After we create a virtual bone version of the root, we're going to right click on the virtual root, which is the IK foot. We're gonna add a virtual bone in which I created and point it to the foot L bone. we're gonna do the same thing with the right foot. And once we've done that, we're gonna rename these. Okay, rename this IK foot R. This one will be renamed to IK foot L. Let's save that before we go crazy. Alright. There are two of the same location of these that we're going to add there. To be more specific, for this one, we need 2 more bones. So, let's add another virtual bone. And we're gonna use foot R again. This time, we're going to rename it to IK foot R offset. Right click again, and this time we're going to be using the calf as our knee. Let's rename this IK knee R offset. There. Now let's do the same for the IK foot. Add a virtual bone. Only this time, well, to put it bluntly, it's vice versa. There we go. We've added those there. as I said, this is optional, especially when you're using the skeleton. But without these, we will never be able to properly set up an IK footing in this form. But, hey, I digress. Now, inside our player character blueprint, we're going to right-click on an empty space like this. And we're going to type in event blueprint initialize. Then from here, let's use this. We're going to use character blueprint. And we're gonna promote this to a variable. And rename it character reference. Alright. The reason why we need this is because we need to function across basically every single character. Ideally, we need to have all characters use the same skeleton. As such, they'll all be assigned to the very same skeleton. On top of that, they're all going to use the same animation blueprint for the most, if not all, parts. With this, we'll be able to have multiple characters using the same one as we cast to the existing character, in addition to casting to the parent blueprint, and have all character children of that blueprint, which also works well. As for this one, we're gonna keep it for future references, and especially when we want to implement the weapon system, in which I will be teaching you that later on. For now, one shoe in front of the other. Now, let's replace this variable with character reference. I see it has a little error here, but no worries, it can be fixed. There we go. Let's organize that. Let's see if it works. Yeah. You can still move around even when you're not using something like this. Why? Because it's utilizing the character reference, which initiates with the use of initialize animation. Now let's move on to our functions. We start by pressing the plus button to add a new function. And we're going to rename this function update foot IK. This function should be plugged in between delta time x and character reference, which is what we have here. Let's add another function called setFootIK. Now in here, we're going to add 6 variables within the input. This one should be animation curve name. This one should be local foot IK offset. This one should be local foot IK target. For this one, it should be the root bone. This one should be local foot IK rotator. And the last one should be foot IK bone. Okay, so just to let you know, the local foot IK offset should pass by reference, so we're going to place a check mark on that. The local foot IK target should use the same along with the IK foot rotator. Now let's add another function called set Pelvis IK. And for this function, we're going to need two variables called local foot IK left target and local foot IK right target. These two variables within the input do not need to pass by reference, so it's only fair that we leave them as it is. Oh, and do keep in mind that pass by reference is when users want to have a value plug within a certain function while setting that value from the inside without bearing to specifically reference it. Because in order for us to use set by reference variable, it has to be passed by reference. The last function that we're going to need within this tutorial is reset IK. And that pretty much covers that. Okay. Inside our animation graph, let's go to locomotion, idle, locomotion, and we're going to be using this. Actually, we're going to be using the idle because the locomotion is where we have everything in here. So yeah, let's go with that. Right click, and we're going to type in modify curve. Then we're going to plug this between this and the locomotion. With this selected, we're going to be focusing on alpha and uncheck expose as pin, because we need to use the curves from our skeleton. So curve pin, and we're going to enable foot IK. Right click again, and we're going to use the right one. To enable this, we're going to set the value for these two to 1. Because the character is on the ground, we need to have them to be set at the very proper value. Let's copy this. Go to jump loop. Paste here. And we're going to set the value to 0 because when we in the air, there's no need to set up an IK footing. Alright. The reason for this is because if the character tries to reset the foot IK within the air, it's going to be awkward. So no foot placement is needed whenever the character is airborne. Alright, now let's move on to setting up animation layers. Under animation layers, we're going to create a new one, and we're going to call it foot IK. After that, we're going to add a new input within this layer. Let's go back to the animation graph and right click. Okay, first off, we don't need this anymore. Alright, now let's... Gonna right click, type in linked anim graph. What we're going to be Actually, let's use this. Yeah. That'll spare us the trouble. Now, let's go inside our foot IK. Here, this is where we're going to add modified bones. So without wasting any more time, I'm gonna have to duplicate those. Alright, so the bone we're going to modify is the IK foot left offset. Let's uncheck the alpha. Actually, can we? Alright, so instead of unchecking that, we're going to change this to an anim curve value. We're going to be using enable foot. Okay. No? See if I did that correctly. No, it's like this. We're not scaling anything, so unexpose that. translation, we're going to add to existing. And for this one, we're going to use world space. We're gonna do the same thing here. Convert to a current value. Okay, if you're confused, no problem. I'll just do it again. Paste here. We're going to be doing the same as we did with this one here. So we're going to use E. Yeah, I made a mistake on the left one, but hey, I'm only human. The rotation, it's basically the same thing. Just had to double check to be certain. Let's add another. We're not using rotation or scale, so unexpose those two. What we're going to focus on is the transition. I'm sorry, translation, my bad. The bone we're modifying here is the pelvis. Duplicate that highlighted one, or copy, however you want to do it. Let's unexpose those. And we're going to change them to animation curves. Just to save more time, I'm gonna copy this text and paste it on this one. I'll paste it on this one too, except instead of L, we're using R. And I'm gonna change them to the knee offset. So there we go. Compile and save. before we go crazy. Just to save time again, I'm going to duplicate or copy and paste that. This time we're going to change from the knee offset to a foot because that's what we're going to be using. Here we go. Alright, we got that. Now, the next thing we're going to need is to promote each of the pins that we're using to variables. gonna have to set the default values of each variables properly. So no, I don't think we need to do anything from here at this point. So yeah. Inside this function, we're going to bring out a branch here. And what we're going to be using here is we're going to use is character in the air to determine whether or not the character is airborne. Alright, so this is how it works. If the character is airborne, then we need to use set Pelvis IK. But since we're in airborne, we do nothing. After that, we're gonna plug reset IK to set Pelvis IK. With these two, we'll be able to stop the foot IK from snapping, because in the air, if the foot IK is on as the character hits the ground, it's going to jug up for a moment. The reposition itself, so to speak. It's for that reason that we leave it with nothing. But if it's false, we're going to need 2 set foot IK footings. And 1 set pelvis function. Alright. Now, let's drag out the foot L offset inside the update foot IK. Holding the control button, I'm going to connect it to the offset. We're gonna do the same thing with the foot R offset. rotation, we use this. As for this, we'll promote this to a variable. Let's remove that. Promote that to a variable as well. Save that. Yeah. Use this again just to save myself the time. The foot bone IK should be virtual bone, foot. Let's go back to the skeleton, and if you look closely, these are the two bones that we're going to be using. So let's use this. The root bone should be the root itself. Let's go back here. Use this. And then paste it right here. If any of you are confused by this, I suggest you stop right here and copy this as you go along. If you're done here, we can move on to the next step. The next step is we're going to use this and this. Yeah. Basically, plugging these two right here. Okay. Now that we set up our update foot IK, let's set up the set foot IK. Holding the B key, we're going to left click to bring out a branch. Then from the branch, we need to determine if this is greater than from the anim curve name, we're going to get curve value. So what we're doing here is we're determining if the curve value is greater than 0. And if that's true, then we're going to be using the sequence. If you're confused on what I just did, you hold the S key, left click to bring out a sequence. Simple as that. Anyway, we're going to need 3 sets of sequences here. Now, before we do anything here, we're going to add in 4 variables. Three of them should be vector, while the 4th one should be a rotator. This one should be expected floor location. This one should be impact point. This one should be impact normal. And the last one is the rotation target. There we go. So yeah, let's plug this to the first sequence, split it in 3, I'm going to get owning component. The owning component, we're going to set a socket location. Get, not set. Sorry about that. And like this one here, we're going to split it into 3. From here, we're going to get this. Let's duplicate that to save us the trouble. And we're going to use reset. Oh, I'm sorry. From the socket location that uses the root bone, we need X and Y axis for the expected floor location. From the socket location that uses the foot. Oh no. No. This is incorrect here. We actually need the foot IK bone for the X and Y axis. The root bone uses the Z axis. Yeah, I had to stop myself there. Okay. after we got that, we're gonna drag this out, use an addition. From here, we use line, trace, line trace by channel. And for us to put it to the test, we're going to be using for duration. Let's use a minus. The minus should be used for the end, not start, because the plus is for the start. Yeah. The plus is for the start. The minus should be used for end. Yeah. That's how it works. I'm gonna use 50 and 45. Let's promote it to a variable, and we're gonna call it start trace distance. I'm gonna copy this one just to save me the trouble, and then we're gonna promote this one to a variable, and we'll call it end trace different. I'm sorry, end trace distance. Now that we have our line traced by channel, we're going to... Okay, first things first. We're going to use character reference. Then from the character reference, we need to determine if we have to determine if this whole thing is walkable. So we have that out, and with our line traced by channel, we're gonna plug this out hit to hit. Holding the B key, we bring out another branch to determine whether or not this system is walkable. Let's bring out a node from here, and we're gonna break hit result. Let's plug impact notable since the walkable is true. Then plug this impact node from break hit result to our set hit impact normal. We're gonna plug impact point. The impact point, yeah, I made a mistake on that. We're using the impact point. It's just the impact normal should be using this. Yeah, a mistake on my part. this, and we're going to set by reference variable. Plug this right here. From the value, we're going to subtract something. And another addition here. Plug this right here. We're going to use some multiplication. We're going to multiply impact normal to the foot height. As you can see, I just set it to float by a single precision. Anyway, let's promote this variable, and we're gonna call it the foot height. Multiply again. The z-axis should be 1. Last one we need for the first sequence is the rotation target. So I'm gonna hold down the Alt key and drag it right here. Let's split this pin to 3 parts. We're gonna use the degree here. Oh, this is 1. 2. Yeah. We're gonna need a degree. Let's hold the control key and bring impact normal here. And we're gonna split it to 3. This may confuse you, but trust me, it's going to work. plug the X to the Y and the C to the X. Plug it right here. Plug Y right here and the C to the X. And we're going to plug this return value to the bottom of the pin, and we're multiplying it by -1. Actually, no. We're going to change this to an integer, then multiply it by 1. Alright, we got the first sequence down. The next sequence we're going to be doing is the second sequence. So the two variables we're going to be needing here are the offsets for... Okay. Two variables we're going to be needing from the input variable of this function are local foot IK offset and local foot IK target. So there we go. Yeah. we're gonna... Okay, now that we have those, we're gonna split them into 3 pieces. And from here, we're gonna determine if the CE offset is greater than the C target. Holding the B, we bring out a branch. And we're gonna plug it to the second sequence. Now, if this is true, then we're going to duplicate these and recombine them. Well, actually, yeah, let's go with that. So, from here, I'm going to set by ref variable. Duplicate that. Let's use vector interp 2. And the current should be our foot IK offset. The target is the local foot IK target. For delta time, we're going to use this. And let's set the interp speed to 30. Let's use another one. I'm gonna copy. Keep that there. We're gonna do the same thing instead in reverse. So the interp speed right here should be 15. For the third and final sequence, we're going to be using the rotator. So plug this to the third sequence. our interp to. This one is our current rotation. This one is the rotation target. This one will be used for delta time, and our interp speed should be 30. If the curve value is less than 0, then we're going to need to set them by reference. Only this time it's going to be 0. So let's get set. Oopsie. There we go. Much better. Alright, that's everything we need here for the set foot IK. Now we're gonna build a lot with the set pelvis IK. So yeah. What we need inside here is the pelvis offset. Actually, pelvis alpha. Gonna divide the pelvis alpha by a 2. We're gonna use add to combine the existing curve values. Going back to our skeleton here, we're gonna copy this. Place here. stays there, except we're using the right. From here, we need to determine if it is greater than something. Holding the B key, we bring out a branch with the left click mouse button. If this is true, then we're going to need a sequence for it. Use it if it's true or false. Now, if this is true, then we're going to get the foot if this is less than the z-axis of the foot IK target C, then the pelvis target should be using the LIK foot L target, aka local IK foot left target. However, if the C target is greater than this one, okay, to be more exact, if the right target is greater than the C target, then this one should use get local foot IK right target. For the second sequence, we're going to be using pelvis target to interpolate that pelvis target. So I'm going to use pelvis offset and the pelvis target. Split them to 3. And we need to determine if the offset is less than the target. Bring out a branch and plug it to the second sequence. Again, we use the pelvis offset. Only this time, we need vector interp 2. The current vector is the pelvis offset. The target should be the pelvis target, and the delta time should be using delta time x. After that, we set the interp speed to 10. For this one, we do the same as before. This time, we're going to set the interp speed to 15. And if any of this is false, then we're going to use the pelvis offset, except we leave the pelvis offset with nothing. There. That's how we set up the pelvis target. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to build everything within reset IK. So by holding the S, we're going to need a sequence. As before, hold the S key and bring out a sequence by using the left mouse button. For the first sequence, we're gonna do everything we can with the left side. going to use V interp 2. The current is the foot IK offset left. The target, we do nothing. And the delta time, we're going to use delta time X. And the interp speed should be 10. Foot IK rotation, we use R interp 2. The target is the foot IKR rotation. This one, we leave it with nothing. Delta time, we use this. And the interp speed should be 10. The second sequence is the same as the first one, except vice versa. And by vice versa, I mean this. Set to 10. And yeah, we're pretty much done here. Really not that much to it. The last thing I need to do before I close off this tutorial is I find that I made a simple mistake that can be rectified. So let's go to the transform modify bone, where it uses the left knee offset. And for the translation, we're gonna set the x-axis to 20 and y-axis to 30. We're gonna do the same thing with the right foot, except reverse. -20 and -30. There. That should do it. Another mistake in which I made. So, instead of using transform modify bone, we're going to use 2-bone IK. Duplicate that. Let's select this. And instead of using the float value, we're going to use anim curve. we're not going to be using effector location or join target, so we're gonna unexpose those two. The effector location for the effector location space, we're only going to be using the bone space. And we're not going to use the location too, so unexpose that as well. The effector target should be the foot IK offset. So let's use the right one. Sorry, the left. And we're gonna use the bone IK we're going to be using is foot L. The same with the right one. We're going to take rotation from the effector space, so let's copy this. And now that we have that, we no longer need this. This is funny. Also, I forgot to allow the stretching because if I were to not allow it to stretch when I play this project, it's going to look funny. Last mistake on my part with the virtual knee offset is I put it to world space instead of bone space, so let's fix that. Alright, now that I've set everything up, let's test it out and see if it works. There we go. See here? We have ourselves a better IK foot setting than the one we have with the basic foot IK foot. But one slight problem. As we attack, we see that it's not set properly. But luckily, we can fix that. So let's go back to our player character. We're gonna put this whole thing in reverse. And let's see if it works. Still the same. I wonder. Well, at least we got the lock-on part. Yeah. So anyway, that's everything we have here for the player IK footing. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for future tutorials such as this below. And for the next tutorial, I'll be showing you how I'll implement the same proper foot IKing, the same proper foot inverse schematics for the enemy AI. So yeah. Again, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel for future tutorials such as this. And always remember that what you take and learn from me is yours to do with as you see fit. Peace out, and I will see you on my next tutorial.